all electrolyte and hydration mixes and drinks are not created equal. I mean, check the ingredients. They have sugar or sugar alternatives, and there's tons of added stuff. Allow me to introduce you to the best electrolyte mix, Light Balance, LYTE balance.com. It's a naked electrolyte mix, which means no preservatives, no sweeteners, no flavoring, no caffeine or gluten, and no calories. I'm always on the search for the best hydration, and I've found it. My entire family uses it, and I use it on all my runs. It solved all my hydration issues. Your body needs magnesium, potassium, and sodium, which Light Balance conveniently provides in liquid or powder form. Pure, powerful hydration. Light Balance. Go to lytebalance.com. So, our guest today on the Mental Toughness podcast, she is a 5-time World Long Drive champion. She won her first title in 2006 and is a world record holder at 414 yards. Still holds true today. It's awesome. She is from New Zealand originally, so I love our Kiwi guests that are here. She is also a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, which is a fantastic honor. Definitely ask her about that today. I'm excited about our guest, Phillis Meti. Phyllis, great to see you. Glad we got to connect. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Dr. Rob. Happy New Year, and it's awesome to be here.
Absolutely. So we met at the obviously you were putting on a show at a golf outing. You do those currently. It's awesome. You come out there and share with us, and I was drawn to you immediately. One, your affable nature. I mean, you worked a crowd excellently, and then you have just a great job, I think, of showing your talent and displaying that. Um, I guess that was just a roundabout way of just saying, hey, how we came together. How many
Mm.
outings do you do like that? Possibly like a year. Like what's an average for you?
You know what? I don't do many of them.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was referred to by Lisa Longball, who is a legend in long drive, a long time legend, very well known in the golfing space for women's golf right now. Um, but you know, Lisa's been in the game for so long, and I met her in 2006 when she was pregnant with her boy Luke, who was about to be drafted in the NHL some way, some shape or form. Um, and when Lisa says, jump, sometimes you have to say how high. And, you know, um, yes, I've won lots of world championships, but for Lisa to have her pulse on the, for Lisa to have her finger on the pulse, in the industry and to say, hey, look, here's something for you, go do it. You kind of just say, okay, when. And so,
Right.
yeah, that was a kind of way that I got to meeting Mike.
Okay. Well, I hope we're going to get some listeners out of here. We'll at least get another outing for you because those that are listening, I mean, if you want Phyllis to come there, do a great job in terms of a clinic, hit long drives. I mean, she is definitely the person for you. So, um,
Mm.
yeah, love it. No, it's awesome. I mean, let's start with this. So, I mean, you were a huge netball player growing up.
Yes,
Yeah, talk
yes.
to us about
So
that.
for those of us that don't know what netball is, it's kind of like a side version of basketball where you don't dribble the ball, but you pass and go. And our hoop only has a ring. There's no backboard. It's about the same height as a basketball hoop. And every point that you take or make is 1 point. Every hoop you make is 1 point. You only have two shooters, so it's a really fast game of stop and go, pass and go, and the idea is to get the most number of points, right, or goals. So here in New Zealand, actually, it's a really popular Commonwealth sport. So we're really good at it. Australia's really good. England, Jamaica, um, Malawi, believe it or not. So we've got like a huge amount of talent worldwide when it comes to netball, but I don't think it's kind of pushed through the ice in the United States.
Hmm.
Um, it's such a fast game. It's a mostly woman played sport in New Zealand. And it's kind of like if you go to an all girls high school like I did, if you didn't play netball, you weren't cool.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, as a growing girl, you play, but when you go through high school, like the netball team, I guess, at all girls schools, like high school football team.
Love it. And so, I mean, you were playing golf as a little girl as well. I mean, with your dad introduced you to the game, but it became a part where it was like you need to either choose this golf path or either kind of choose netball, right?
Yeah, yeah. So my dad used to take me out to the golf course when he was learning, and it was I was kind of more like his retriever than his actual like, look, this is how you hit the ball. He figured out the game, and then he took me to coaching as an excuse to go to the golf course so he could go play 9 holes. Um, and I just I remember like not many people play golf, so it wasn't that cool. And I think back to one of my students just a few years ago when I was still here in New Zealand teaching. She used to ask her mum to tell her school that she was sick, throughout the duration of the tournament because she didn't want the other kids knowing her like she played golf. Like that's how small golf is in New Zealand. So you know, like when you play lots of sport and there is a Kiwi mentality that you just try everything and see what sticks. And thankfully for me, I had a few things stick, with a netball career, with athletics. I wasn't really, in hindsight, if you look at the throwers that have come out of New Zealand, I wasn't as good as them, but I was good enough to still compete
Hmm.
internationally. Um, and I was also paddling. I was outrigger canoeing in Hawaii and Tahiti, um, kind of all around the Pacific. And I had options by the time I went to my first World Long Drive Championship. And you know what made the decision was more so about how vast the golfing industry was versus say netball, paddling, shot and discus at that time. Like we have Valerie Adams, who was like a 5-time Olympic medal athlete, right? Like she was the pinnacle of shot and discus. So if you weren't kind of like around where she was, even near her, there was no point trying. So winning my first world championship in 2006 at the age of 19, to me it became a no-brainer to choose golf, the
Hmm.
industry of golf, whatever it was going to be.
I was always fascinated about the story you tell about the first roundabouts, like first national and then world competition that you entered, because it was kind of suggested, hey, once you enter, you might get a top 10, but you did so
Yeah,
much better than that.
I did. And we are quite realistic and honest about where we could be. But my mum did a little bit of homework and realized that some of the numbers that I was hitting, the yardage that I was hitting here in meters in New Zealand, would match actually a lot of the women that were competing in yards in America. And so she was like, "Look, this is the benchmark. This is where we need to be. This is where we're going. You need to hit the grid this wide. Let's practice." And we also had a long drive legend in New Zealand, Devon Nola, who had recently come fifth in the world in 2003, direct me along the way. And like it was awesome. I was already in the mentality of 6 golf balls because it's what we get in shot and discus. You get 3 throws and then a further 3. Um, and I was able to stay present as much as possible. And this the saying, ignorance is bliss. When you don't know what you don't know, it really doesn't phase you, right? So my 2006 year, I knew nothing. I knew nobody. I just went out and did my job, and I kind of got sidetracked the next couple of years after that because it became an expectation that I was gonna win, almost as if it was mine to lose. And I don't know, I was too young to put that pressure on myself, I guess. But I also didn't know what that meant.
Right. So you win in the first um, World Long Drive Championship. My question for you is this, is you when you kind of reflect on that, because that was 2006, how long did that feeling of success there, how long did that feeling last?
Um, right up until I lost the final in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a cool ride in 2006, and in America, well, I mean, okay, so in New Zealand, nobody knew who I was. We thought we were just going to kind of like go and win world championships or go compete. And if I did well, I'd kind of come back and fly under the radar. But that wasn't the case. I had quite a bit of media. I ended up getting another cell phone so that I could kind of separate like my number and just stuff relative to golf. But I really didn't know. We didn't know what to do. I mean, like ignorance is bliss, but then ignorance is also a hindrance. But when you don't know what pathway or where to go,
Mm-hmm.
and I love my parents because they did the best they could with what they did the best they could with what they had and what they knew. Unfortunately, that just in the realm of golf in America, that just wasn't enough. And so I kind of floated a little bit in 2007 and 2008, but the winning feeling didn't really come back until I won again in 2016.
What would you have before we kind of get into even your tour career? So, what would you have done different knowing what you know now in terms of after you had won for the first time? What would have changed?
I probably wouldn't have taken the prize money and I would have gone to college to play golf.
Really?
Yeah. And I wish, I mean, I don't regret what I've done,
Right, right.
um, you know, because I've represented my country in so many different things. And, I did the best I could with tour golf, but it just wasn't good enough. And, that was really hard to kind of accept. And I didn't really accept it until my dad got sick in, 2014. And I was like, crap, I think I need to be home. Like, why am I chasing this little white golf ball when I think I need to be home for my family? I need to be home for my mum. Um, so, far bigger things become more important than trying to chase a career that, I play better golf now than I did when I was actually practicing. So,
Hmm.
if I could go back and do it differently, I wouldn't take the money and I'd go to college.
Okay. Fascinating. Love that. So you win national championship, I mean world championship, but then you want to play golf, and then you go out there. I mean, you went through Q school, Q series 5 different times, but you get your card. Talk to us about what are some memories that stand out to you in terms of playing the game, the travel, and even thinking of your status they had in 2013. But talk to us about. I know it's tough to encapsulate everything, but what stands out to you about when you were playing?
Um, on the course, what stood out for me is that I needed some direction on how to play the game. And it had nothing to do with my physical ability because I could throw, I could move a canoe fast, I could shoot the ball, I could hit the ball a long way. But when I won my first world championship, I was already on a scratch handicap. And so like I was a pretty good golfer at that time. Um, and I don't know how, but my dad was on my bag for a lot of the games. So I guess he was more so like the man with the controller saying, here's your club, go hit it. There it is, go. Um, but when I was hit with adversity, it wasn't more so around getting out of trouble. It was more so around being able to finish it off. And the adversity of finishing it off by saying, if I move my ball from A to B to C, and the idea of the game is to actually get the ball in the hole the quickest, go play it that way. Um, and I'd come across Nancy Harvey on the Aussie Ladies Tour in 2011, 2012 summer. And she just said, look, when you're ready to play better golf, give me a call and come and see me, right? Come spend some time with me. I'd love to help you. You've got distance, you've got a great demeanor around the golf course. We just need you finishing it off really quickly. And so
What did she see? Like what did she mean by that?
so we played the ladies masters together. And I think she saw that I hit the ball a long way. She saw that, like, even when I was in trouble, I never lost my shit. It was always like, oh man, okay, this is what I have to do. Oh man, this is what I have to do. And then, like, when I didn't have obstacles, like when I was chipping and putting around the greens, I really didn't have any kind of concept of distance control. And it's not as if my eyes couldn't see it, because when you describe feel in the game, it's more so about what you see and how you can connect what you see with what you feel, right? It's got nothing to do with like, oh, it's all feel. It's got everything to do with how you see it and what you want to see and how you're going to execute that to an outcome. I didn't have that. And so in the 2012 year, no, in the 2013 year, I spent, throughout the 12 months, I spent maybe a month and a half staggered with Nancy, flying back and forth to Brisbane to just find out how to get better. And a lot of it was mental. A lot of it, she had me learning how to compartmentalize, because we were going through, quite a lot of things around the 2013 time. And she says, you just got to, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. But let's put things to the side so that you can actually focus on what's in front of you, right? We know that there are things on the back of our mind. We just have to put them on a shelf. And when the time comes, you pull them off the shelf, you address them, and then you put them back on the shelf again so you can see where you're going. And so those were like the best weeks of my career, I think. When I went to Q school, I was prepped mentally and physically for Q school in Morocco. And I played some pretty good golf, yeah, I just wish I played the game. I wish I learned how to play the game. And I wish, someone had taught me this is the idea of the game, but they taught me that at the age of like 10. So that by the time I hit the tour, I was ready to go. And hence why I say, like, I wish I went to college, because I believe college prepares you the most, and that will tell you whether or not you are ready for the next step or the next level of golf. After school.
When we started the podcast, 2025 will obviously be a 10-year reunion of your father's passing. Could you talk to us about your all's relationship?
He my dad had I think he had a tough start in life growing up. I mean, a lot of parents have, a lot of people have, but for him, it never really like stopped him or set him back. Everything was about going forward, look forward, keep going, don't stop. My mum lost her parents, both of her parents, before my dad did. And I think the one that really stood out for us is like after my nana passed away at the end of 2013, when I was in Morocco at Q school. My mum was bedridden, and I just looked at my dad. He was like, just keep going. She'll jump on board when she comes around. She'll be ready for it. Just keep going. And I'm like, well, why does this happen? He was like, well, people are sad in different ways. And so you like around her, you just got to have to keep going and figure it out. Anyway, so that was him. He was like, keep moving, keep growing, keep getting better, keep striving for something. And even when he fell ill, and the day that he was diagnosed, we sat down, and he was like, do you want to talk about this? And he told me what had happened in the doctor's office. And he was just like, Phillis, you have to figure out a way to move on with your life. You can't like stop. He goes, whatever happens to me, don't worry, I'll be okay. You just have to keep going, just don't look back. And I think it really, like, after my dad passed away and I start going through all of the lessons that we learned, and I always take him with me when it comes to making decisions. He was the type of person that always looked forward to something and always said, okay, like, we've done this, what next? And so now I look at myself. I think I look at myself now and I'm like, okay, well, your problems come, problems go. We keep going. Um, he was my best friend. It was hard, um, strict a little bit, but all for a good reason, is to stay focused and ensure that I was not only safe, but I was also on the right track to being better. And yeah, I'm grateful for it. Not at the
How,
time, but I am now.
right. How was he hard on you?
I think he just expected a lot out of me. You know, when you look, and I do this, Polynesian girls are nice and big and strong. They have a strong mentality when brought up with the village. And you look at, like, we are also misjudged because, physically we're a lot bigger, but sometimes, we're a lot bigger than our age. And our biological age can still be of that young 15-year-old girl that is bigger and stronger than some of the 18-year-old girls that are on the netball court, some of the women that are on the netball court. So they are expected, because they look like this, to match the same mentally and
Mm.
emotionally. And so for him, I think he was like, well, you're nice, big and strong. We're going to make use of that, as opposed to you being like tall, big and strong, but useless. So, I look at like Polynesian girls now, even young ones, and I'm like, oh, what do you do for sport? Are you good at school? What do you want to do when you grow up, kind of thing? Because I just want to make sure that, like, we all progress and we all raise the standard of the pool each time, wherever we are.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's what he had in mind, was like, oh, my girl's nice and strong. She's big. She's actually pretty capable. When she's fit, she's got more options. And so we're going to encourage her to go down that way so that she can keep her options open.
Oh, I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, that means a lot. Um, so take us through then when it comes to you go back to long drive, that transition, and then I mean you really then reach your full potential. Um, at least from my standpoint, right? But I mean, talk us through those years. What stands out?
So after my dad passed, I stayed home and I took up an operations job at a golf course that I was working at. My boss was retiring, and I kind of put my hand up for the role. And they gave it to me on the interim, but I also said to my employer that I wanted to go back and finish my degree, because I was the youngest at that time. I was the youngest staff member at 27. And I said, look, I want to go back and get my degree. What I don't want to have is a membership that averaged 67 years old be told by a 27-year-old, this is how the golf course is going to run. At least I had something kind of under my belt to say, look, I'm not only qualified for the job, but I love my job and I'm going to do a very good job. And so I went to school. I was working full time, studied full time also. Thank goodness I only had like 2 or 3 papers to go of my degree. And by 2016, the middle of 2016, I had graduated from university with a bachelor's degree in sport and recreation with a management major, because I was running golf courses. And it had also been like almost 15 or 16 months since my dad had passed away. And so I was saying to my mom, look, why don't we go somewhere? Like, let's get on a plane and go. Let's have a trip. And my friends have gotten married, so we traveled to Thailand, to the Cook Islands. We've been places, but we really hadn't been anywhere for us. And she says, well, what are we going to do? Because we don't have holidays, Phyllis. We usually have trips that we add on to events or something that we're doing. And I said to her, I was like, well, I've been watching the long drive scene for the last couple of months, since I've had a lot of like downtime to sit and, be on my computer. Why don't we go back to the World Long Drive Championships? She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, are you ready? And I was like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you how fast I'm hitting it. But what I can tell you is I've been training hard in the gym. and physically I'm ready. She was like, well, all right, let's go. I had 6 weeks. And 6 weeks, I started going back to the driving range, and I started off with a wedge, and then a wedge and a 7-iron, a wedge 7-iron and a 4-iron. And then I knew I needed equipment, so I called Warren Smith, who has specialized in drivers for years and years and years here in New Zealand. And he had the crank golf license at the time. And so I asked him, I was like, look, I'm wanting to go back to world championships. I need some equipment. I will pay for them. And in my mind, it was like, I'll pay for everything, just because I don't want to think that I don't want people to think that I owed them anything. So I bought my drivers. And the reason, why I kind of had that mentality going in is because I didn't know how far off I was, or if I was even near anything to do with, one, the golf swing, and two, with speed hitting, power hitting.
Right.
So we get to America and no one knows who I am. It was kind of cool. No one knew who I was. It felt like 2006 again. But there were a few key people that, like some of the grid staff, some of the guys on the tee box, some of the organizers, and then Lisa Vlooswick was there also, Lisa Longball. And so we kind of introduced ourselves, I guess, on the practice tee. And you've got Troy Mullins there, you've got Blair O'Neill there, you've got Alex Phillips, who was super confident that she was gonna have a great world season. There were Chloe Garner was there, Sandra Karlborg was there, and I met Sandra at Q School in Morocco. So she was like fresh world champion at that time, and she was
6-time champ, right?
She is 6-time world champ.
Yeah.
Her last one she won was in 2017. Before that, she won 2015. So she was defending champion going into world championships in 16. And, in my first set, I had 2 people that I don't remember, but I know that I was hitting in the same set as Lisa in our first round. And, my mom's really good with like paperwork. She says, all right, this is what we're doing. We're doing, 5 sets of 8 golf balls, 3 minutes. Then they're going to do like match play, so on and so forth. And I was like, let's just get through the first round. So I get into the first round. I didn't even realize you had to tee up your golf ball, or they weren't going to start the time. So, that's right. Tees on the ground, ball on the tee box, ball on the tee. 4 of us on the tee box. We go. At the end of it, I think I came like 3rd or 4th in the damn set. And I had like, I'd never hit it worse than Lisa before. I wasn't sure like what I was doing, to be honest. And I walk off the tee box and I'm looking at my mom. She's like, hey, are we supposed to be here? If you're hitting it like this, are we supposed to be here? And I was like, not like this, but let's get to work. And so
this was just a practice?
No, it was the first round of the first of the competition. That was the first round in competition.
Gotcha.
And so like I think I posted like a 272 or something. And there's nothing wrong with that number. It's just my expectation. I didn't have any, but like in my mind, I was like, okay, the first time you hit your very, very first round in long drive, period, you hit a 300 and something, like a 304. And I kind of like had an idea or thought that I wanted to aim for like a 300 number in the first set coming back in 2016. Well, that wasn't the case. So I got to work for the next 4 rounds, and I won the next 4 rounds in each set.
And then Phyllis, how is that format then? So for the listeners and everyone that are not following, how is that format set up?
Okay, so in 2006, 7, and 8, it was a double elimination type thing. So, winners of the sets go into, I think it's round 4. And then you've got like a repechage thing so that the people that lose have another chance, right? Second, double elimination. And then you work your way through that, and then you get into match play. It's a far longer type of format. But when I went back in 2016, we had like a round robin type event where you have 5 rounds. There are 16 women, 5 rounds, and every set that you hit off against everybody in the group at different times, but your points are accumulated based on that particular time, like moment in time.
Okay.
So it makes it a little fairer, right? So you're not going like downwind for the first 2 sets, and then the next 4 groups are coming in with a headwind number, and we're competing against that type of
Right.
the
Right.
woman that had hit with a tailwind. So it's fair. It's grueling, and if you mess, you have a little bit of leeway to mess up in the one particular set, but it's a race to 500, and then you go on after that. So you want to get at least 500 to 600 points in the round robin throughout the 5 rounds, and the faster you get there, the easier you can breathe for the next couple rounds. So the idea is to win the first 3 sets, and then the next 2 you use as maybe like a tester for other clubs that you might have in your bag. But I only had 3, so in the first set, I was trying to look for the driver that worked rather than going on with something that I trusted in. I was trying to find something to work, and thankfully I did by the second round. So I won the next 4 rounds, and then I won the next 3 matches and became world champion again.
If you're struggling with soreness, pain, or inflammation, you need to check out Stamina Pro recovery patches. Developed for over 15 years, the clinically proven technology of Stamina Pro is free from all chemicals, all pharmaceuticals, all drugs, and it's 100% safe for athletes. I only promote products that I use myself, and Stamina Pro takes care of all my training needs, pain, and soreness. If you use the code DRB15, you get 50% off, or use the link below, Stamina Pro. And so your mindset going in after, let's say, the round play, you go through those rounds, like you make it then to, I mean, 1v1, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you remember about your mindset heading into that, and what you needed to do in order to perform your best?
Um, um, I think this comes from my dad. When you go in as the underdog, you have nothing to lose. And I really was the underdog. No one knew who I was. And they must have thought that maybe. And I thought kind of too that it was like a fluke that had kind of sailed through the next 4 rounds of round robin and won each set. There was also another hitter from the UK, Rebecca McGinley. She'd be her and I would probably match physically, same height, same size, about. And she hit the ball pretty good too. But I had nothing to lose. And so in the semi-final, I hit against Blair O'Neill. In the quarterfinal, I hit against Blair O'Neill. And like as strong of a strike as she was, she wasn't as fast. And so I knew that if I could hit something in like the high 280s, I'll have a good chance. Bearing in mind too, Chloe Garner, who I beat in that final, she had just come off an event in Utah and bombed the ball like 375 with the men. So, I'm sure Chloe had lots of expectation to win. I think she thought she was going to walk in and clean up. She did pretty good, but the mentality was just around, you got nothing to lose, go for it, go for everything. And that was also the mentality going into the final as well. Like I 8-balled Chloe in the final, and I have this thing about like in my set, if I start the round well, I know that it could be a great round in terms of like that set of balls. And in my final with Chloe, I had like blocked the ball out to the right side of the field, right side of the grid, but I hit it really well. And so I was like, okay, here we go. This is going to be good. But every time I went to hit the next ball, like kind of just mishit them a little bit. I think I might have had like, so I was chasing 304 and I might have had like a 290 in the grid. But I knew that there was a good ball coming because I felt it from the first ball that I hit.
Right.
By the end of after ball 7, I had my dad running through my mind like, hit the ball, man, just hit it, just go and hit. And the ball that had been looking for was my 8th ball. I hit a pure up the right side of the grid, and it drew back, kind of like what I did in 2006. And the ball landed where Chloe's finished. And so as soon as I saw the ball land, like there was a huge amount of relief that came over. But it was just like the never give up type mentality that I had. And to keep going, like, don't worry about the last shot, go again. Don't worry about that one, go again. Yeah, I'm grateful it came in the 8th ball, but I kind of knew that set was going to be awesome from the
Yeah.
first.
No, that's great. I love that setup. How did your mindset change? Um, because when you keep coming back, I mean, obviously the expectations are there. Um, how did your mindset change and how did you need to adapt in order to still perform your best?
Moving forward on the tour.
Yeah.
So in 2016, at the end of 2016, I flew home and went back to work. And Maurice Ellen was in Auckland, here in Auckland, for an event that was run by Ona Ford. And like, now that I know Ona, we have a great relationship. But like at that time, she called me out of the blue and was like, "Hi, like I'm running a long drive event. Would love for you to be a part of it." And at that time, I really like didn't care to come back into long drive at all. I didn't care about golf anymore because I felt like I've got my degree. I'm a world champion again. Not what more is there to do, but like what more is there to do at that
Mm-hmm.
particular moment in time. I was ready and okay with being at home and retiring from golf altogether. Finish on a high kind of thing. And I said to her, I was like, look, I'm not really in long drive anymore. I don't really care to do long drive anymore. Like I'll come support your event, but I don't really want to be a part of it. So I'll come and like watch. Anyway, so I get a phone call, I get a text message, a random text message, like through Facebook Messenger from Maurice. And he was like, look, I know we don't know each other, but it'll be an honor to meet you. Which was the coolest thing I'd ever heard. And I didn't know who Maurice was. I didn't even realize he was at World Championships at that time. When I was there, when I won. But that was the coolest thing that someone had said to me in my own sport. And I was like, hey, look, you're in New Zealand, you're in Auckland, you're in my city. Like, I'd love to catch up with you. I'd love to meet some of the other guys. That'd be great. You're here. So I met him, and I had a long talk about like, where I was. And I said to him, I was like, look, honestly, I really don't care about golf anymore. I love it, and it's my place of peace, but I really don't care to compete. I'm okay with like retiring. And he says, well, what if I can help you? What do you mean? And he was like, what if I can help you? Like, if this is what you want to do. And I wasn't really sure. I really didn't want to do it. He was like, but if this is something that, would interest you, and if I could help you, would you come back to America? And I was like, okay. So, I met him in November. By April, I had resigned and I was in America. And frankly, in the 2017 and 2018 year, it was more so about still being able to prove myself. Like, okay, so she won in 2006. That was like almost last century. She came second twice after. She's hit some big numbers on those grids. 2017 is going to be a year where Golf Channel bring World Long Drive Tour back for men and women. Let's see if she can do it. And
Right.
like I had to prove myself for a couple of years, and I still had to prove myself after the 2018 year when I won my 3rd world championship. not just to the facilitators of Long Drive, but also like my sponsors. I am super grateful that Dave Glod gave me a chance. He took a punt on me with his drivers, the tour age drivers, and it was awesome to be able to not have to worry about golf clubs on the tee box. So that was one thing that I kind of didn't have to worry about. Thankfully, we only had 3 events, and I had a bit of money saved up in my bank, so it wasn't as if like I had to worry too much about like where I was going to find my next dollar, like how I was on the golf tour. Whether we eat or not the next week and where we stay, so on and so forth. I didn't have to worry too much about that because we only had 3 tournaments. And then, I got to dabble a little bit in like actual corporate events and just different ways of being able to use Long Drive as a platform. But again, like I'm still learning. I'm in a big country. It's different. It felt like sometimes I had to run up a mountain to kind of meet and match my competitors who had been in the game for a little bit longer. They had their finger on the pulse with, sponsorships. And I think the coolest thing that Maurice had said when I met him in 2016, that November, he says, when you look through a small window, all you can see is what's in this small little view. And we were walking in the city at this particular time. He says, see that huge window at that gym? He says, when you start looking outside your small little window through a bigger window, through a bigger glass pane, you actually see a lot more opportunity. And he says, so I kind of don't blame you for being like a little irritated at the moment that you saw a whole bunch of girls in America, with sponsorship, with labels, with all of this equipment and gear kind of at their mercy. And you had like 2 or 3 drivers in your bag. And you've come home back to work. And I think that was kind of my turning point as to like, all right, so you're right. I've seen far bigger things in America. I see cooler things in America, and I see the girls that, don't hit it as good as me get more. So from that particular moment in time, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to maneuver myself to get back to the States? And so, I'm kind of going in circles here, but
No, I
it
love it.
just, it's a wall. Sometimes it's a wall that you have to kind of climb, or a mountain that you have to run up to try and match everybody. But when you get help from people, I don't think a lot of people understand how much help like really does make a difference, even if it's a small piece of help, right? It's one thing less to worry about. It's less things to worry about, right? And this, like, worry is a waste of space in the mind. But if you can turn it into something productive, some really cool things could happen. So it went from like, all right, she's done it before, she's done it again, she needs to prove herself still. She already had one record of the youngest world champion in 2006. We beat a world record. We have a 400 club of girls in 2017. In 2019, I break a world record again. And then in 22, when I come back after COVID, I've won a world long drive championship. And then, here I am in 2024. I wasn't the fastest hitter in the field by all means.
I was hoping you could walk us through that because you had then different set of circumstances for 2024, right?
Yeah, I hurt my back in the beginning of 2024 in our first event in March in California. And I went like looking for speed when I didn't need to. And I'm glad that I got my shit together, for world championships in 2024 on the Monday off.
What do you mean you started looking for speed when you didn't need to?
When I didn't need to. So,
Yeah.
2 strengths of mine, Dr. Rob, on the tee box is that I'm a great ball striker and I've got a lot of speed. But because I hurt my back early in the year, like I hurt it and it hurt like crap. But I had some time to like rest and recover. I didn't completely recover, but I had some time to rest and recover, and what it didn't feel sore, but and so like I went through the season trying to chase something that I really didn't need to have to look for. And when I was chasing one, I lost the other. And so, chasing speed, I lost ball striking and hit the ball. To my standard, I don't think I hit the ball very well last year at all. And I also know too that you've got players like Mai Disha and even Monica Living, but I rate Mai a little higher because of the amount of speed that she's able to produce at any given time. Now, when my mentality can catch up to her physical ability, she'll be untouchable for a while. But yeah, having to continue to prove myself, and then now, like I'm 37, so I'm not like looking for validation. I'm not looking for anyone's approval anymore, and I did that for such a long time. First, my dad's, and then and then those that were facilitating my wallet, so my sponsorship, those that were facilitating our sport, World Long Drive, like interviews, TV time, all of those kinds of things had us, set up for sponsorship. So, like, I won a tournament, I don't get TV. Well, why not? And I get it, we want to share it, but if you win a tournament, you go onto morning drive, why doesn't that happen? Why am I not on morning drive tomorrow? I won. So, the acceptance, I guess, and the approval of the facilitators of the sport, but then also, like the approval from those that were in my circle, in my team. I chased everyone's. Yeah. So when it came to 2024 Worlds, I realized on the Monday that I didn't have to chase speed. I just needed to strike the ball well. And whatever you go on with, you get yourself ready and you prepare for war, right? Whatever it is. If that means that you have to drop your golf club and scrap your way through, then do it. And that's what I did. And fundamentally, that's the fundamental game won 2024 World Championships, then speed. And it always was going to. And, that type of grid required you to hit the grid at any cost. And so if that meant that I was, 6, 7, 8 miles slower than my, ball speed, then so be it, because I knew that I struck the ball well.
What was that? What was the circumstance there about the importance of hitting the grid there?
So we were off an elevated tee that wasn't quite square with the grid.
Oh, okay.
And, and I said this in the press conference about a month before World Championships. This was an inexperienced person's grid. You had trees on the lining the right hand side of the grid, and then you had water on the left hand side of the grid at Eagles Landing in Atlanta. And, for an experienced hitter, it's just a piece of grass, right? Every grid has a piece of grass. And I think we talk about this in the game of golf too. Like, every golf course has 18 tee boxes and 18 flags that you need to hit to, like hit from and hit to. And so this was that type of time where you go, all right, it's just a piece of grass that you need to hit towards. A lot of the new hitters bomb themselves out because they saw trees on the right side, water on the left. So fundamentally, we needed to hit the grid. It was more a grid hitting competition than it was a speed game. If you had asked me that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, nah, this is a speed game. It's a mind game too, right? And you choose your weapons to go into war with, and mine was ball strike. Thank goodness it worked.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask, with your inner circle and the people that rooted for you and want the best, like you still wanted their approval. Like unpack that for us.
I think it came with expectations, right? I think that came from also how I saw myself. So in the 2017 year, I had 2 seconds and a third, which I was pissed about. And that's because at that time I was swinging the golf club like 5, 6, up to 10 miles faster than the other girls. And so, I have an expectation. If I swing it that fast, what the heck is my problem? Oh, well, fundamentals, right? So I had speed, but I didn't have striking in the 17 year because I wanted to chase everything. But that also meant too, like after returning home and at the end of the 2017 season, I was like, right, damn, imagine if I hit the grid more often. And imagine if I could stay this strong. And so we went to work, and I had my coach here in New Zealand, Jacques, who works with a lot of 3D equipment. He had me tightening up a few loose parts in my golf swing, which allowed me to, one, strike the ball far better, and two, hit the grid more often. Right. And then working with my trainer here, Dallas, he kept me strong, and like not just physically but also mentally. He says, we're going to put you in the ringer so that no matter what you come across, you're ready for the next set. Right? We're going to shorten up your rests. We're going to do this. We're going to make you run. And the smaller the rest, you're going to be tired, but at least you'll be ready for the next set, because that's how your world works. That's how your game works.
Mm-hmm.
After 2017, I'd come across Lee Brandon also. So I stayed with Lee in 2018. I was like, look, I'd love to pick your mind. I'd love to just kind of understand what you do. And she says, of course, like, come, stay with us, train with me. We practice together, and I'm all, she said this, she says, I'm all about being able to pay it forward right now. And like, that was another cool lesson that I learned along the way, is being able to pay it forward. So, I had expectations. So my expectations of myself actually probably kind of became everyone else's expectation, to get me ready, to have me hit the grid, to win more tournaments. And I also learned too that, sponsorship just doesn't come like that anymore. Like, oh, you're world champion, what are you going to do for me? As opposed to when I won in 2006, it was like, yeah, try this, use that, do this, do that. And there's no such thing as social media at that time either. So like, I didn't have to worry too much about exposure. The exposure and the storytelling was coming from them. It's a little different nowadays. We have to tell our own story. And, I think the value in telling our story is more so about like what to do and what not to do in the same kind of space. So yeah, I still had to kind of pull finger and make sure that I was able to still prove to myself first, which then radiated out to my team, that I was still able to win more tournaments, and that 2016 wasn't a fluke. Yeah. And so training with Lee was freaking awesome. Training in California up in the mountains was awesome. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
My first event after working with Lee for about a month, I think, I hit like 381 in Arizona. And following the tournament, I had a lot of the guys go, man, I'm glad I hit it 383 this week. I beat you because I had 383, and I'm like, if I hit the ball like this, man, anything's possible.
Right.
If guys are coming up to me and they say, oh man, great final round, and I have, Sandra Carball come up to me and say, Phyllis, I couldn't have hit the ball any better than that, so congratulations. In my mind, I was looking at like, well, if I hit it 380 and a lot of the other guys are hitting it 380 in previous rounds, this is going to be a fun ride. And it's going to be my ride if I can do it. So the 2018 year, I think I won the first event. No, I won the second event. Bombed out in Mesquite the first event. I think I had a couple of top fours, and then I won world championships. So, I mean, that was a great year. It was far better than 2017. My expectations in a lot of places were met because I was able to hit the grid more often and give myself more chances.
Right.
And then in 2019, I went to kill 6 events. I had 3 wins. I had 3 seconds. And, I didn't know this till Bobby Peterson had brought it to my attention after 22, I think it was. He said, in 2019, a female won the most amount of money besides world championships because 2019, Chloe won, Kyle Berkshire won his first world championship. And so he says in 2019, a female won the most amount of money, prize money from the tour, which is freaking awesome. He says that should never have happened. And I looked at him and I was like, why would you say that? Like 3 events, 3 wins, 3 seconds. That should be how it is. He's like, yeah, but the person who won the most money was a world champion. And at that time, Chloe was one of his hitters. And I was like, well, the game was there to be played. And I was grateful that I turned up to be a player in the beginning of the 2019 year. It was awesome. I set a world record, 4:14 at Upchin in Arizona. And I think that was our first event of the season. And then it just got progressively better each time. And also, in coming second, I didn't lose by anything more than 3 yards.
That's consistent.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll take that. First you got to get there, right, and meet your expectations. And then, how consistent can you be? And so it was a very satisfying year, to say the least.
Yeah. Oh, love it. So share with us the New Zealand Order of Merit. Seems a very distinguished award. Talk to us about that.
Okay, so we are a country of the Commonwealth, and we have sovereignty with the Queen and the British colony. And before I talk about that, Lydia Ko just got knighted as a dame in New Zealand, youngest dame ever at the age of 27 years old. So like she's like 3 levels higher than I am on the Order of Merit when it comes to that kind of stuff. Okay. But a lot of it's to do with recognition for your contribution to your not industry, but to your, I guess, chosen pathway. And so I was nominated by our Long Drive National Sporting Organization. And with that nomination has to come letters from, I guess, from important people in my industry. And that's not just nationally, but it's also internationally. And I didn't know about this until I got a random email saying, congratulations, I think you've entered the Order of Merit. And those scamming emails that you get, like, congratulations on $1 million or something like that. That's what I thought it was. But I looked at the email address as well, and it's like a government address. And so, like, the only time you get a government address, like email address like that, is if you're in debt and you owe money to like our equivalent of the IRS. It's not like
you're in trouble, right?
You're in big crap. So I went out to my mom, and my mom's eyes give her away before her voice. And so I went into my mom and I was like, I got this email. It's from these people. It says, congratulations, I've made the Order of Merit. And her eyes popped up. And I was like, what do you know? And she says, well, you've been nominated and we've got these letters that supported your nomination. And, this letter here says that you have been inducted into the Order of Merit for your service to golf. Well, when did this happen? And she was like, actually, it happened at the end of your 2019 year. And I'm like, okay, and this is 2020 in COVID. And I was like, okay, so what do we do? And she says, well, you've got to go meet the Governor General, who was like the next step from the Queen, like our Queen's representative in our country. You've got to go meet the Governor General for your investiture. and you get medaled, and it's a whole thing, like a whole ceremony thing. And so the reason why I was nominated was because of my service to not just golf, but also to long drive,
Right.
over a vast amount of time. Since 2006, I have, I guess, more of a understanding of where I am and what my role is. And that was a cool thing. I think that was a cool thing that I learned at university, was figuring out our space, or where we are in the industry or in the world. And so when I went back into long drive, I realized, like, I'm not just a competitor, I'm also a leader. um, I have a lot of girls that look up to me, and for whom do I exist? I exist for the girls that look like me, that are looking for a stronger pathway that they can stand on without having to
Mm-hmm.
fall through the cracks. And not only for girls that look like me, but other women that are interested in sport, that are interested in golf, that are interested in athletics, netball, all of these different things, that just want to be able to compete but know where to go. And each year I try to embrace that more and more. And it's just like, hey, if you can hit the ball far, why don't you come try long drive? Right? That's how I got into it. I tried it. I got better at it. It became my craft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I get to travel. I I get, and all of these things are like positive affirmations around, me being a professional. And all I'm trying to do is, one, hit the ball better, two, help other people because that's a passion of mine, but three, also help create pathways for other kids that look like me to go and thrive,
Yep.
whatever it is they want to do, so that we can come back also and pull up the other people that are coming behind us.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, Phyllis. I appreciate that. You definitely put a bow on this podcast episode. That's fantastic. Best part there. I mean, here's how I always ask my guests is what questions should I be asking that I'm not asking? Like what part have I missed in our discussion here?
um see, I'm prepared for this question. Is
Nice.
I guess, what drives you? um what is your motivation? um what are the things that make you get out of bed? Because you can't keep getting out of bed for yourself. You have to get out of bed. You have to find other, in my opinion, you have to find far bigger things to get out of bed for, in order to keep thriving, not just for yourself but for other people. And I think, as I go along my journey, the more people I help, um, the more things flow. And if that means too that, like, a part of sharing my story is about, like, these are the adversities that I went through, and I'm fairly certain other people are going to go through similar adversities, or even the people are going to go through adversity no matter what. But if I'm able to kind of help you open your mind to, different solutions, different ways, then, and that helps you, that's kind of my job done. It's fulfilling for me. It's satisfying for me to know
Hmm.
that, like, sometimes me sharing my story has helped other people get through their storm too.
Right.
So I think, yeah, I think, what drives you
Yeah.
could be another question that we ask.
Well, well said. And I just look forward to the what's next coming up for you. And I know you're going to make such an impact, not only in sport, but life. And I really appreciate you taking the time. Glad we got to connect.
Me too. What's next? I would love to make better use of this world championship in a way where, and I don't talk about capitalizing money wise, I talk about capitalizing, like, more conversions to golf, to staying in golf, to using golf as a vehicle, helping more people. I love helping people.
Yeah.
It's really fulfilling. So if I can use my world championship status to help more and more people, I think the prosperity aspect of things will will come. as a result of that. And, I'm just grateful that I get a fifth chance to be able to utilize this championship to do so. And right now, my focus or space is in the kids, space. Not necessarily junior coaching, but kids golf, kids long drive, kids events, so that our kids here in New Zealand have more of a chance to get over to America and have a place where, somebody looks like them on the receiving end.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Thanks so much, Phillis.
Thank you.